In today's video, I'll be testing a Orange Pi 5 single board computer, and I'll show you that it is capable of being used as a desktop computer with Armbian Linux. So I'll tell you what version my Orange Pi 5 is. It's Orange Pi 5 with 4 gigabytes of RAM. The operating system it has is Armbian OS. I'm using a M.2 NVMe SSD on it. I'm not running it off the USB. I'm not using the microSD card or a USB. Or booting from a USB. It's booting from a M.2 NVMe. The M.2 NVMe that I'm using is, I think it's Samsung M.2242 256 gigabyte SSD. I do have a USB hub attached to the USB 3.0 port, which is on the top right next to the RJ45 cable. So let's begin. Can you use this as an average day desktop computer? So I'll be doing some stuff like browsing the internet, and I'll show you. And this version of Armbian, I installed the 3D drivers for it, and I'll show you that. So as you can see, 3D acceleration is enabled. You had to. I made a video about Armbian and how to do that. You could see that in the top right hand corner, or you could go down to the video descriptions. I have a link to that if you're interested. I also have a video on how to install a M.2 NVMe SSD for the Orange Pi 5 single board computer as well. Let's do a few things. I'm going to go to YouTube and play some videos. First, let me turn the sound on. For some reason, you got to go in here and turn on the
American
sound.
government was quite impressed. I hope so. Those MiG-29 escorts wore jackal marking.
So now the sound works.
Jackals?
Do this.
I have a feeling
You got to do this every time, which is annoying, but it still works as a desktop.
we're in for a rough time in South Africa.
We're not
We
going to
play
be able
some
to fix
videos.
this. No! Nobody died!
Every now and then, something or someone comes along with the power to shape the whole world.
I was just talking to Virgil, and he was whining about our current lack of work. This should keep him quiet for a while. I don't think so, Billy. Just ignore any screaming you hear coming from his office. Well, Commander, looks like we should have...
Well, that's not a very demanding video, so no big deal trying to run something like that.
I was just talking to Virgil, and he was...
Let me see. Let me run a 1080p video and show you it's capable of running. Get on full screen. Turn on stats for nerds so I could see. This is my 1280 by 720. We're getting some drop frames, 77. Let me check the resolution. This is 720p. Let's try 1080p. See what I get. This is 1080p at 60 frames per second. That was a network lag. Eight drop frames. That's not too bad. Not bad at all. Still only 9 drop frames. It ran okay. Not bad at all. Let's turn on system monitor and check how many resources are being used. Okay, now we have a little bit more.
The airfield is ours. We've got to hold it.
In roughly about 30% of my CPU power. I have 8 cores, using about 64% of my RAM. Definitely, if you want to use it as a desktop, you should get more RAM. At least 8 gigabytes. That would be recommended. Let's see if I could do other stuff. I got a bunch of other tabs open. Now I'm browsing the internet. That's using 67%. Let's open another tab. I was running a video. I was doing all this. I have a number of tabs open. I was using 74%. Definitely, you would need more RAM if you want to use it as a desktop. It would be necessary. See, now it's network lag. Definitely, this thing is capable of it. No question about it. You could do a number of applications. I'm going to show you that I am indeed using a M.2 NVMe. Right here. This is my main drive that I'm using for this computer. This version of Armbian does have Office applications as well. Text document. Using a substantial amount of RAM. When I type in here, it's pretty snappy, right? There wasn't really a lot of delay or anything. It's pretty good. So really, the CPU cores aren't working that hard right now. It's not overloaded. When I try to run other single board computers using Linux, an ARM-based Linux operating system, I do have like issues with it. Like the CPU is being overloaded because the CPU cores can't handle the load or something. But this thing doesn't have a problem handling the load. And most of what you do these days is on internet browsers, anyways, right? You go shopping online. You're using an internet browser. You're doing work online. You connect to a cloud-based application, right? That's what I do when I work. Mostly, I'm connected to a cloud-based application or something. Or when I go shopping, I'm using an internet browser like this or something else. Maybe Opera, Chrome, Mozilla, etc. or whatever. It's pretty snappy, I'd say. Really no problem. It's as good, the scrolling is as good as a desktop computer. This particular model that I'm using, the total cost was about $140 to $150 with the M.2 NVMe and everything else. If I got the 8 GB version, let's see how much more it would be. Because the 8 GB version costs about $15 more. It would cost about $155 to $160 if I got the 8 GB version, and that version can be used as a desktop replacement. I mean, just think about it. How much does the operating system cost for Windows? Let's say you want to get a computer, you want to get an operating system for your computer, like for x64 architecture computer or something like a AMD or Intel, you got to get an operating system, right? Like a Microsoft operating system, like Windows 11. The operating system alone costs $100, right? With this thing, you're getting a computer with an operating system and everything for anywhere from $140 to $160, which is a pretty good deal, I think. You could run emulators on it if you want. Standalone emulators. Now that this version of Linux has 3D acceleration. If you don't have 3D acceleration, it's going to be a little bit hard, but for emulation, I just use a separate micro SD card with something like Batacera Linux, or I use Android 12 with RetroArch or Dolphin emulator for the Nintendo GameCube, or Aether SX for the PlayStation 2 emulator. And that's what I use it for emulation. I think it's a lot better if you use a dedicated operating system instead of using a full desktop, because using a full desktop operating system and using it for emulation is going to be a bit slower. So that's probably going to be a better option. So you get the best of both worlds. You could use it for retro gaming, which I do with this computer, and I can also use it as a desktop. And the thing is, all I have to do to use the other types of operating system with a micro SD card is just simply sticking in the micro SD card. So I think the way this thing is configured by default is that if you stick in a micro SD card, it's going to work. So I'll show you that right now. So I'm going to stick in RetroArch, not RetroArch, Batacera. I'm going to turn this off basically and do that. Okay, so my Orange Pi 5 is off right now. I'm going to put in my micro SD card. And now I'm going to turn it back on again. Now it's booting into Batacera Linux. I could play retro gaming as well. Something like this. There's a little bit of a latency because the quality of the video capture device I'm using isn't so good. But I assure you that the Orange Pi 5 does not have any problems running the Nintendo Entertainment System emulator on Batacera. Get out of here. Quit this. Turn it off and put in another operating system. Okay. I'm going to stick in a Android 12. Okay, I'm going to boot it up. I always have to go into the sound and make it louder. For some reason, it doesn't save the settings, so it's always at this level of sound, which is not adequate. Let me try something. Okay, that does run.
Select weapon array. Type 1.
T-301. Commencing attack Armbian.
Okay, saw that. Now I'm gonna get out of here. I'm running the Dolphin emulator.
My name is Jammy.
Okay, so you saw that as well. I could run a PlayStation 2 emulator on Aether SX. That pretty much concludes this video. If you have any thoughts, you can leave in the comment section below. and thanks for watching.